Thinking about switching over to using Agile for hardware development, there's one cultural change you might want to consider before you make the switch. Okay, so what's this cultural change you need to take into account if you're going to be switching over to Agile? It gets down to engineering accountability. So let me give you a little bit of context. So in the past, for many years, when you look at hardware development, usually one engineer is assigned responsibility to develop, one board system or one set of mechanical parts or a mechanical assembly or what have you. And they kind of carry that from beginning to end. And a lot of times there's things like calculations, requirements, like all the plans and intent about how a design is going to satisfy requirements. If you own that from beginning to end, you don't necessarily need to document and I guess document will be the biggest thing. You don't need to document how the solution is going to address it. You just need to make sure that at the end of the project that it does address it. In an Agile methodology, though, especially with Scrum, which is part of Agile, you can frequently have these daily Scrum meetings where the whole engineering team gets together and everybody reviews the biggest blocks that are keeping them from making progress, any issues, how much progress they are making, and everybody kind of gets up to speed. Now, part of the Agile methodology, though, is that you can switch assignments, right? So you can take what this person is doing and hand it over to this person instead. And there's certainly flexibility in that, right? So if you have an expert that maybe is really focused on fatigue or maybe systems integration or network bandwidth, right? You can move them around. You can have them work on different systems and solve the biggest problems along the way. But what that means, though, is that you don't necessarily have one person taking something from cradle to grave, from beginning to end with that piece of hardware, that assembly, that mechanical part, that board system, what have you. So one switch you have to make is you're not going to have one person that's accountable from beginning to end. The organization needs to know that. But number two, these hardware engineers need to start documenting their intent. For other people, it might be working on the same design, right? So they need to know the original intent so that they can continue down that path and kind of have the right context to do the work. And that is a culture shift. A lot of engineers are so busy, a lot of times they don't document that stuff. And that works because they own it from beginning to end in a waterfall or a spiral development model. But in Agile, that doesn't work, right? You need to be able to communicate to others what you're originally intending. So if you're looking at switching over to an Agile methodology and adopting this daily Scrum approach, you need to explicitly be aware of this transition. It is a cultural change because engineers have been doing it the other way for decades. So be aware of that as you change to Agile. That's it. Take care and talk soon.